shit going on here. We're like, yo, dude, we're gonna get this project's gonna get busted. Like, get people away from there. Get the net out of there and get... Yo, you want some help? Yo, throw it here, I got it.
Just Yo. Got it here.
Wait so I can go. Yep.
Come on, man.
Yo.
Where the be at?
Yo.
Oh, shit.
Yo. Where's it going? Where's it going? No,
It's not Banksy. Let go. Let go.
I'm asking you to let go.
everybody let go.
Appreciate you guys. Back us up. Please back up, okay?
It was really crazy. It almost seemed like a scene out of a movie. Pleaded with the police to take it out and pick it back up.
Move back.
Don't touch me.
What are you doing?
Let's start off with a little tutorial on Banksy. Just who is this nefarious character?
Well, that's the thing. People don't know too much about him.
He's anonymous in the age where it's nearly impossible to be anonymous.
He has a great instinct for pushing buttons.
He's distinguished himself from other street artists by having a bigger agenda.
He kind of exploded into the stratosphere. All of a sudden, everyone wanted to talk about Banksy.
I've heard about this guy for years.
He's like the most famous artist on earth.
His works are far more famous than his face.
So from Bristol, right? He's an English-born artist. What else do we know about him?
That's pretty much it.
Banksy has never let anyone see his face.
His following is international. Banksy's art often has political and social overtones, and his controversial work has appeared on walls across the world,
Including here on Israeli security walls in the occupied West Bank.
Since then, he's become popular on the international auction circuit, alongside Andy Warhol and Damien Hirst.
Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie are among the growing number of collectors known to pay more than $1 million for a Banksy.
Banksy, a legendary British street artist whose works are now popping up all over New York City.
All right, he's been tagging the walls of buildings throughout New York.
There's a well-known graffiti artist who's making his mark in New York City, on New York City.
Stubner. I'm a reporter with the Daily News, and I tracked Banksy throughout New York. He announced that he was doing a month-long residency, so every morning he'd post to his Instagram account, and he'd just leave the littlest teaser of what he was doing.
It's going to be one piece every day for the entire month of October. Every day he would post on his website with a picture of the piece with no identifying location for where it is. Some of them had audio commentary attached to them. It's supposed to be kind of like a museum guide.
Hello, and welcome to Lower Manhattan. Before you, you will see a spray art by the artist Banksy. This piece is typical of Bansky's output, relying as it does on life-size characters viewed at a level perspective in monochrome. This effect is achieved by spraying automotive spray paint through an intricately cut shape in a piece of cardboard, or to give it its proper term, cheating. The children in this case represent youth, and the sign represents, well, signs.
What was interesting to me as a journalist covering it was the wide array of people who showed up. You had art students, you had plumbers, you had gallery owners that just brought New Yorkers out.
Yeah, we're looking for the Banksy piece on 16 and Allen, which I guess is the first of his graffiti artwork in New York City.
He's doing a month-long
Right.
a month-long tour on the streets of New York, right?
Right.
Putting artwork all over the place.
Yeah.
And we're trying to find the first one.
Right.
Now let us pause for a moment to consider the deeper meaning of this work. Okay, that's long enough.
Bullshit, huh?
Yeah. I can't believe he actually covered up a Banksy original.
So it turned into a scavenger hunt, in a sense, where people would see this piece and then go, oh my God, where is it? I need to find it before it disappears.
There's a lot of talk that it could be one of the shop owners or it could be him himself. I don't know, because the paintbrush is still on the ground.
You just gotta come as soon as you can. I have work later on today, but first stop, see the new Banksy. I just wish I could have seen the full piece.
I wanted to catch the Banksy graffiti, but I just missed it.
For the first time, we saw work in a really seamless fashion, where he would put out this cryptic message on his website, which made like a treasure hunt, where you needed to go and find something in the part of the city you'd never been in before.
We would post something and then hashtag it. The Banksy phenomenon like trained us onto like how to find things via social media.
Every day this month, it seems, a fresh work will be unveiled. But nobody knows where, and nobody knows when.
So Banksy would post something, and within a very, very small window of time, people would just be tweeting about it, using Instagram. You just get a barrage of people taking pictures. The people who followed him, it was their job, it was their quest to find him.
The response to it would be part of the art itself. It's never been done like that before.
It was like a giant scavenger hunt in New York City, and we were all pawns. we all played along beautifully.
For now, the city is getting a new tourist attraction every day, and also a lot more graffiti.
You know what it was? It was the integration of the street and social media.
What was happening on the streets was happening so fast. There were camera crews interviewing people immediately. So I knew that this was going to be an important event for 31 days in the city of New York, prompted by Banksy.
The O would be right here.
So right where they painted it, look at that. This is where it was.
So, and then the Y was right here.
Hello. You're standing somewhere in New York City and looking at a delivery truck that is delivering calm. Please rest a while and enjoy the view.
Just found out that it could be on St. Mark's and...
Second or third.
Second or third.
Yeah.
We're headed there now. I'm shaking! Can you imagine the coolest part is that this guy is hanging out here somewhere, or one of his associates
They're watching the truck, yeah.
They're watching that truck, right?
It's basically a giant diorama, and I could kind of care less because I can go to the Natural History Museum and see a silly diorama, but you listen to the audio guide and he's like, this truck is delivering calm all throughout New York City. Well, it was delivering chaos. Never once delivered calm. It was driving a Banksy around the city and hordes of people following it. No one was there and thinking, oh, I'm so relaxed. Everyone was there saying, gotta get in, get my picture, how do I...
So this is on St. Mark's Place?
Banksy is at it again.
All right, Banksy strikes again.
And he tagged a truck that cruised around the village. Folks, brace yourself, because the British are coming. The British are coming.
Today's Banksy is a video.
Today's Banksy is a video.
Banksy really understands the necessity to make narratives simple for the mainstream media. The video piece that obviously had a reference to Dumbo. The story of Dumbo also was connected. It came out around the time of World War II. Dumbo was the code name used for the U.S. Navy during the 40s and 50s to signify search and rescue mission. The purpose of Dumbo missions was to rescue downed American aviators as well as seamen in distress.
Had that video with Dumbo getting shot, right? And if you look at that audio, that was actual audio of militants taking a rocket launcher and shooting down a real helicopter. So while we're all saying, like, oh, childhood innocence is kind of like cute but sad and whatever video, that was the sound of somebody actually dying.
The helium balloon, an object of such poetry, its lightness, its fragility, its way of wandering on a breeze. It's an uplifting visual poem to that most fragile of human emotions. Oh, brother. Such a juxtaposition, then, is a common theme for this artist. Or, to put it another way, he just keeps repeating himself.
So this piece, I think, was put up there to be an interactive piece, you know, because it's There's Always Hope, the stencil, the girl with the balloon. As soon as I saw it, I was like, all right, I hope a little girl shows up so I can get a shot. You know, everybody wants to get a shot that nobody else has, and I was trying to do it as quickly as possible so everybody else was there wouldn't get the same shot.
I really loved how much the audience participation was a part of this show.
The bandaged heart balloon piece, you had to stand in front of that piece. Yes, you had to take a picture, sure, so Instagram, yay, but you had to stand there to activate the piece.
This piece is obviously an iconic representation of the battle to survive a broken heart.
I knew he was gonna do that shit, man. Just in time.
Yeah, that's called spot jockeying. It's if you put your name or piece next to somebody else's who's like more famous than you, because everybody who looks at that or takes a picture of that one is also going to get used.
First week, you saw people tagging major pieces by Banksy.
It was a call and response. It was Banksy saying, New York, here I am. It was other graffiti artists saying, hear you loud and clear.
What?
Thousands of dollars you're paying away.
People who had negative reactions to his work getting ragged by graffiti writers, and people who wanted to rag his work, they're all part of the performance. You know, it's like performance art. It's like epic street theater.
Within the street art community, there are a lot of graffiti artists who think that Banksy is a poser, that he's sold out, that he is not authentic anymore because of his notoriety.
I mean, it plays into the street art versus graffiti divide. There's a feeling that graffiti is prosecuted much more aggressively than street art. Graffiti is something that's bad. So you got this whole sweltering sort of undertone that already exists, and in plops Banksy. Banksy comes from a sort of traditional graffiti background.
Graffiti, it starts the story. It's the original street art.
New York is the holy grail of street artists and graffiti writers, and I think there were a lot of factors in New York that made it important. One of which was the fact that there was a lot of empowerment for marginal voices in the 70s in New York. There was also a strong art community. There was also a strong community of protest that was going on in the city. So all these factors sort of became this cocktail that really, you know, birthed the movement.
We didn't have art programs back then. We didn't have sports programs back then. So if you were competitive and if you were an artist, the trains were like a giant beacon for you.
5 Points is really one of the rare locations in the city of New York where writers and graffiti artists can come together and really explore their talents, collaborate. And people from around the world would come to New York to visit it as a landmark.
And you pass it on the train, and it's got that old, gritty, industrial, wild sense that New York had much more at a point in time in the past. But it's private property. A developer acquired it with plans to change it.
The largest legal aerosol outlet in the U.S., quite possibly the world.
It was about artists coming and telling the story. This is a difference between public art and Times Square.
Banksy, his quote was, New York calls to graffiti writers like a dirty old lighthouse. And it's true, I mean, it's the birthplace of graffiti.
Of course Banksy chose New York, the midwife of graffiti.
So I think an artist like Banksy really needed a little bit of that cred.
Back in Red Hook, the owners of the building with the red balloon decided to play it safe and put up plexiglass to prevent any more graffiti on top of the graffiti. Fans now waiting to see what tomorrow will bring, if it brings anything Banksy at all.
Suddenly, someone posts an address on Twitter. Okay, here it is. After a false alarm, we eventually find it. What do you think?
It's cool because we're one of the first to get here.
Everyone after photographic proof before too many others discover it. The attention was too much for the building's owners. They started covering it up, despite one rich man's best attempts.
$1,000 on the door right now.
And I'll buy you a new door, Home Depot, today. His last piece sold for $400,000, and it was a piece of stucco. So I would be glad to hang that up on my wall.
Oh, man. Come on, man. Let's photograph it.
He didn't get his way. Just like that, it was gone. Instagram users hot on the Banksy trail posted pictures of workers taking down the door. Hashtag dollar bills.
All right, and now we come up to the section that everyone's been waiting for. This is the Banksy portion of the auction.
So people are taking Banksy's work, they're cutting them out of the wall, and they're selling them without authorization and making a lot of money. But what you see around Banksy is not money that Banksy is making day after day, though that's the impression in the press. And that's the impression that the gallery people who have taken his rather stolen work and put it up at auction would like to give.
And we're selling it for $170,000 to Megan's phone bidders.
My name is Stefan Kessler. I'm the owner of the Kessler Gallery. Southampton is the bathing and recreation area of New York. Hedge fund guys and people with very good income. So here we have one of the most famous Banksy works from Bethlehem, the West Bank. The name is Wet Dog. In 10 years, this will be millions. And if you compare this with Basquiat, or with Keith Haring, or even with Damien Hirst, you pay for something in this size and this importance $10–20 million.
6,200?
A few arguments by people is, oh, it's not Banksy's intention that this is in a gallery or this is a private collection. My answer is always, it was not Picasso's intention when he painted a beautiful woman or gave a piece to the hairdresser as a present, that it shows 40 years later or 30 years later at an auction house for millions. I think at a certain point when he does it, it's not his business anymore. Banksy is never authenticating street art. He puts every work he does on his website. So if it's on his website, it's the authentication of his work. And I think if he goes to bed at night and he thinks about what we do, he's grateful about what we do. You want to see it? We got contacted from a middleman that those Banksy works, the Wet Dog and the Stop and Search, from West Bank to New York. Stop and Search. It's very smart what he does. I hope one day he will admit that I'm good for him, and then we can work together with all the hustle. This would be my dream. With Banksy, you never know what happens tomorrow. And we hope we will do this for a longer time. Did you see House of Cards? Yeah. I love Kevin Spacey.
Good morning.
What day of the week is it?
Is it Wednesday?
It's Wednesday.
I noticed a lot more traffic on the way in, so maybe it's the,
I'm already nervous about Banksy, aren't you?
Yep, I'm already nervous. Looking around.
See if there's anything there. We're in Times Square. Just got word there is a gigantic...
It's a war horse!
piece.
A war horse!
On the Lower East Side. We're headed there right now. We got a tip on Twitter.
Come on.
18.
Crazy Horse 18, this is Hotel 26, over.
Alright, we just engaged all 8 individuals. 18. We also have one individual appears to be wounded, trying to crawl away.
He's getting up.
If he has a weapon though in his hand?
No, I haven't seen one yet.
Come on, buddy.
All I gotta do is pick up a weapon.
Pushmaster, Crazy Horse 18.
For more than 2.5 years, the wire service Reuters has been trying to find out what happened to their 2 staff members on this street in the suburb of New Baghdad. WikiLeaks says this is what happened.
Hotel 26, Crazy Horse 18, have 5 to 6 individuals with AK-47s.
Light them all up.
Come on, fire.
Hey, Roger. Keep shooting. Hotel 26, Crazy Horse 18.
Crazy Horse 18, this is Hotel 26, over.
Oh yeah, look at those dead bastards.
Nice. 26, Crazy.
From a distance, you hear the voices on the tape watch as the wounded try to crawl to help. But when help arrives...
Come on.
Clear.
Oh yeah, look at that, right through the windshield.
Even from high above, the harsh reality becomes evident as the troops that arrive find 2 children wounded. You see them carry their small bodies and call for help.
Hey, I need to get the brass to drop ramps. I got a wounded girl. We need to take the rest of mine.
The response on the tape...
Oh, it's their fault for bringing their kids to a battle.
That's right.
To tie it into something that's so real and to, I guess, refocus people's attention, not just on him, but to use that attention to refocus it on this larger issue of, like, what are we paying attention to?
Banksy managed to create this huge installation on the Lower East Side without anyone seeing him.
There was a blue tarp for a while up, then the blue tarp came down.
I think it's kind of cool that he's like this elusive artist.
Banksy has promised to create a new work of art every day this month in New York. And no matter where the art pops up, it's sure to cause lots of drama on the streets.
All right, these 2 images were posted not long ago on Banksy's website. It's graffiti depicting a beaver chewing down a street sign, but the caption says East New York.
Yes. So there's a hint.
You want to take a picture, it's going to cost something, or the shit can just get broke. $100,000 portrait, we trying to get this off of it. But before we ruin it, we'd rather leave it so y'all can come and take a picture. They don't give a they see it, they not taking no pictures.
These guys in the East New York section of Brooklyn are actually charging people $5 to take pictures of graffiti.
You want to take a picture, it's going to cost something.
And some people are actually paying.
We trying to get some bread. This is my hood.
So you want us to pay to take a picture?
Yes. You came from where you came from to take that picture, $20 ain't worth that for you. I can step on this shit, it don't matter to me. Y'all want to come here, if this wasn't here, it's worth more to you that this is here than to me.
People were going to the Bronx, probably part of the Bronx they've never been to. I mean, people went to East New York, and they were going to part of Queens that I think most New Yorkers have never been to.
He really shines a light on topics that people quite often don't want to talk about. Or one that he shined a light on in this experience is gentrification. You know, the fact that, he was putting his artwork in places in New York City that art collectors, art dealers, art connoisseurs would never travel to.
This is public art, public space for anyone to come and to experience and to enjoy together.
My name's Andrew Russeth, and I'm an art critic for the New York Observer. We didn't write a ton about it. I think probably almost nothing, just because we think of our audience as kind of the traditional, I guess, contemporary fine art world, which Banksy has kind of like made a point of avoiding, and the contemporary art world has, for the most part, kind of avoided him. I just think a lot of Banksy, a lot of street art is just so kitschy, so silly, so, in a way, just dumb. It's just art that kind of like hits you over the head with its message, its point. And I think I'm at least interested in stuff that has some nuance, some subtlety, like makes you feel weird and think weird things. And Banksy is just the worst, lowest common denominator art. The one that I think everyone kind of liked, it was the moving truck with the animals all flailing about inside.
You can hear it and everything.
Chérie, je m'adresse à toi. Avec toi, chérie, la vie est belle.
Nothing to worry about.
So many people I knew were you know, kind of tormented that they missed this opportunity. And I'm like, do you really want to own a Banksy that badly? And they're like, no, I want to get a Banksy for $60. And so it kind of plays into that fantasy people have of like going to a thrift store and buying a painting and then a piece chips off and you see there's a painting underneath and you discover like a lost Da Vinci. It's the last bit of dreaming we have left in a culture which promised the American dream.
They're taking pictures of it.
Damn. Okay, right behind this blue guy, right there.
What you see before you is a sculpture entitled Shoe Shine, dating from the summer of 2013, depicting the powerful figure of Ronald McDonald waiting impassively as his ridiculously oversized clown shoes are buffed to a fine shine. Ronald was adopted as the official mascot of the McDonald's fast food corporation chain in 1966. Fiberglass versions of his likeness have been installed outside restaurants ever since, thus making Ronald arguably the most sculpted figure in history after Christ. For this piece, the artist has reproduced Ronald McDonald in perfect detail, single-handedly. If by perfect detail you mean roughly, and by single-handedly you mean with two people helping. But take a closer look, and you may notice something familiar about this clown. His face is that of the Greek god Hermes, carved by Praxiteles in 340 BC. Is this a wry, oblique reference to Greek mythology? Or did the artist have such difficulty trying to sculpt the face, he simply plonked on the nearest replica bust he could find? We will never know. It's the second one.
NYPD is hot on his trail, saying what he is doing around the 5 boroughs is vandalism. No one knows who he is or what he looks like, even though he's been around for quite some time. 16 have been painted so far.
The NYPD is calling Banksy a vandal, vowing to arrest the artist if he is caught.
Well, I don't support the public defacing of, buildings. I'm very intrigued.
Police are still trying to track this guy down.
We're so close to kind of getting a glimpse of maybe who he is.
Police department's stance on the art is graffiti, and it is illegal.
Banksy has many fans, but don't count Mayor Bloomberg among them.
Graffiti does ruin people's property and is a sign of decay and loss of control. And you running up to somebody's property or public property and defacing it is not my definition of art.
Well, it's funny because, Bloomberg's been so proactive with public art. But, it should be sanctioned. It should be commissioned.
In the 70s and 80s, it was so prevalent, and it sort of became associated in the New Yorkers' minds with blight. It became associated with crime.
Each of these cost us $1 million, in a sense, because others went out and tried to copy. Isn't worth it. Well, it is one of the quality of life offenses, and you can't just take one of those quality of life offenses. It's like a 3-card Monte and pickpocketing and shoplifting and graffiti defacing our public and private walls.
Look, the law is the law, and you're not allowed to deface someone else's property without their permission. At the same time, there's no doubt that the way people experience the city is their interests are perked by seeing kind of a wall in a new way.
The twist in the Banksy story is that When he vandalizes your property, its value goes up instead of going down.
I wish I can meet him in person to congratulate him because he's giving paint to my building.
I'm a real estate developer in Brooklyn, and we're putting street art and murals on all of our projects. It's a wonderful amenity for our tenants, and it creates a vibrant neighborhood and streetscape.
You know, so they work so hard to get it off the subways, and now I go in the subways and it's one big ad. It's sort of like, oh, great. You know, it's all this privatization of public space.
Graffiti-free NYC. So this is what they want. Okay. Vera, propria?
Excuse me. 2 days ago, was an old man.
What was it?
Sorry about that.
2 women on top of a bridge. 2 women on top of a bridge.
So we hear this guy taking a picture?
Yeah. Did it. We found them. We found it. They just effaced it. They did? What did they do? They just did it. They smear all over. Right in front of everyone. Really? Mm-hmm.
Some dude painted over it? Yeah.
That guy, he tagged over that piece probably 5 minutes before I got there. Like, I was walking around the Williamsburg area looking for that piece and checking Instagram at the same time, like, oh man, this guy just painted over the geisha piece.
Don't fuck up your license thing. They're cleaning it.
Don't blow it, guys.
There were this collaborative group called the Wet Wipe Gang. They would go after a Banksy had been tampered with. They would go in and try and restore it. So there was sort of this altruistic, you know, like Robin Hood do-goodery that was taking place too.
I've been following since day one. Like, I feel like chasing these pieces was like, it reminds me of when I was a teenager chasing that new pair of Jordans that came out Saturday morning. Like, I wake up early to catch these before they're defaced.
Welcome to Bansky's Better Out Than In. This is more than just another art show. Oh no, wait, that's exactly what it is. This is a collaboration between Banksy and Os Gemeos, the street art twins from Sao Paulo, who are something akin to folk heroes back home. Come in and rest a while. There's a bench right here, and over in the corner is a water cooler full of cheap wine. Please help yourself to a cup. After all, it's an art world tradition to ignore the paintings and gossip over drinks.
It's an art district. It's the art district of New York. So having them there positioned like right under a bridge that, you know, would otherwise go unlooked and have that be the place to be other than a gallery in itself is fantastic because it speaks to the entire show, which is having an exhibit outside and having a high demand and such a high interest in it that people would rather be standing outside under this bridge than in any of these lovely galleries with their white walls, you know.
So I did a search on Art Forum, not one single mention of Banksy or the residency on all of Art Forum for a month. I understand that that's not what they want to cover, but you'd think they'd do like one little blurb like, hey guys, Banksy's in New York, we think he's silly.
The thing about the art world is that they're inheriting an artist with millions of fans, a whole history, and a whole language around them. It's unfathomably more complex than they can catch up. And yet, they feel obliged to put in their opinion, while their opinion's going to be based off of, like, we missed this.
These pieces were inspired by the Occupy movement that started in Wall Street in 2011. But quite how exhibiting these pictures under a bridge in the heart of Gallery Row is supposed to be doing anything for the 99%, we can't be sure.
I mean, it gets pretty deep and serious sometimes, so like the piece with the horses. I don't know what it is about Banksy that he's not the first and it definitely won't be the last street artist there is, but there's something about his wittiness, I guess. I mean, it's always a bit funny.
This is the first hipster scavenger hunt. Every day people wake up, my first thing I Google, other than my own handsome pictures, is, where's the new piece, what's going on?
was like the reason that he wanted.
You know who says he's a sellout? Motherfuckers that ain't making no motherfucking money thinks he's a motherfucking sellout.
This wine's pretty strong. I'm not sure if I can do this anymore. I say hit him with the water cannon. It's the only time these filthy idiots ever get a wash. I mean, they should occupy a bathtub, maybe. Can I get some more wine?
I walked into the store at 12 o'clock. He said to me, you know, there's a Banksy over there. And I said, who's Banksy? So tell him the story.
I got a text from my cousin about 10 after 9 Sunday morning. He said, you guys must be pretty busy over there today. And I said, why? He said, well, there's a Banksy around the corner on DSW.
Kids were acting out. They were putting their head down on the standpipe. Everybody was just so full of good feelings. Only joy, no negativity. Where everybody was just happy. I thought that we had to protect it. So we hung this, this is an article from the Wall Street Journal. This is a close-up of this caricature. You see this line over here? That's the plexiglass that we put. This is one of the few pictures we have. Come on. It's one of the few pictures we have with actually someone looking at it. Here's a picture of my brother and myself. Point the camera that way. There it is. So that's one of the few Banksys that have survived. Okay, guys? Okay, go on.
Check it out. There was some rumors that this was defaced, but as latest, well, there they're showing it to us. There it is. It's intact.
I believe that there's still this negative image, there's these negative stereotypes of the Bronx. And where I am upset with him is that he didn't do his research, and that what he winds up doing is perpetuating those negative stereotypes with this type of wording.
People from the Bronx are a little upset because of the word ghetto, and they're taking that word a little out of proportion. We are the ghetto, and this is where it started, in the ghetto, and it's really nice.
So this is what we're looking for. It's in Flushing, Queens. What a crazy spot. It's like a junkyard or something. Man.
I'm the only one who found it. Like 6 o'clock in the morning when I come to work, nobody paid attention. I'd be like, that's weird, who do this? Everybody started coming, paparazzi started taking a picture and everything.
You see a sidewalk right here?
I didn't even.
You see that thing? Been there for months.
Can you grab the duster out of there? No, you guys can keep it on fine. Thank you.
They're guarding that thing with their lives.
Why do you think they're guarding it?
Because they probably want to sell it.
Yeah.
I mean, New York was founded as the mecca of capitalism, so everyone wanted to make a quick buck, or in this case, a quick million.
He's already stealing the piece. They're stealing it right now as we speak.
What do you think about that, John? Fucked up. They don't even know who the artist is. Yeah, right? They don't even know who the artist is. They think they're gonna get money on eBay. They probably will, but...
But that's just theft in, like, you know, broad daylight.
Adios!
Gone.
Never even existed.
Like it never even happened.
Same pile of rocks that were there yesterday
Yep,
are there
the
now.
same stupid ass pile of rocks in the same stupid pile of rocks in the stinky little pond on the worthless piece of property that they're going to tear down to turn into housing development.
Speaking of stinky, you're pretty stinky, mister.
Hey man, I had to go far and wide for my Banksy experience.
You can't do that here. No, that's graffiti.
Got to find out what those things are, race to them, take the pictures, and start talking to people, enjoy the area, because I think it all just adds to the whole ambiance. $1. Bravo.
Have a good day.
Yeah.
Ask for permission, and permission is granted. Guys, step back.
Meantime, there's been a rash of greed surrounding the concrete sphinx he put up on Tuesday near Citi Field. 2 auto shop partners took it. They told the Post they were offered $50,000 for it, but they say they're holding out for more. And they claim that they did not steal it because Banksy did not report it stolen.
We don't know anything, but, we saw a lot of photographers, a lot of paparazzi, a lot of, dressed people, nice dressed people. When you see that kind of people, something's going on. They just told us, oh, you got to be very careful because this is very important. At the end of the day, we just decided to take it because if we don't take it, somebody's going to do it. He got a plan for his mother. He want to buy maybe a house or something, Maybe this is the opportunity you got one in your life. They make you change your whole life. New York right now is very expensive to live.
Oh, yeah. In this little basement, we already paid $1,400 for this.
3 days ago, we got an email and that they would like to sell it.
We have a Banksy piece. We want to sell it.
Okay, then come by. Stefan, nice to meet you.
Elias.
Hi, Brendan.
Elias.
Nice to meet you.
This is the boss. How are you? Stefan, nice to meet you.
My mom.
So is this the Banksy?
Yeah. This is the Banksy, huh?
Yeah. You gotta remove all this stuff. It's all the way in the back.
All our security. To get inside, have to remove everything.
And this is it.
Can we go in?
Go ahead. Who's not gonna like this piece? It's unique.
Andere Seite. Side. So what are your plans?
The plan is actually sell it. The good sell. That's the one.
What is a good sell?
I don't know.
Do you know about us?
No.
That's good.
You know about us?
Yes.
It's good.
You know Southampton?
Southampton?
Southampton. Long Island, Suffolk County, right, Nikki? So we have a gallery in Southampton, big gallery. My gallery is selling original Banksy street works. If you're interested to talk about this, we can talk about this.
No problem.
Most of the people who have this Banksy works, they get greedy. They say, oh, this is millions. And millions is ridiculous. Life is about solution.
Exactly. I always say that.
And then, from what we sell, we get a certain percentage.
You're gonna take it to the gallery, they're gonna put insurance, and the best buy, that's the one they're gonna get it, and they get a percent. Me and you and me, me and you.
Now what is your opinion?
¿Qué opinión usted tiene?
Then we will show it in Southampton this summer. And then we go to...
Can it get any louder? Yeah. So if we sell the Banksy, you can put one of these in your new Corvette.
No.
Hasta luego.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. This is Banksy too. Frogsky.
So somebody saw a big blue tarp surrounding what had previously been an empty lot with curious things inside and workers. So I don't know if they saw Banksy or Santa's Village, but we'll see.
It is often said that the role of art is to remind us of our mortality. Banksky's take on that seems to be mounting an art show that goes on for so long, we all wish we were dead already.
I want to see what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't crowd in the street, please. I have no idea. I didn't even know this was happening.
Seasons don't fear the reaper, nor do when the sun or the rain. Come on, baby. Baby, take my hand.
It was like a happening. It was just this momentary thing, and either you were there, or you found out about it, or you missed it.
To be honest with you, I think the real show that he's running is on the internet. It's like the internet's almost the graffiti wall. It's like every one of these new Banksy pieces is kind of like a stencil that we're, running around throwing up all over the place for him.
This is street art. I would be on like Tumblr seeing what can I reblog today. Like, you can't reblog this. You have to experience this.
I mean, he's got a team in New York that I think has probably laid the groundwork for a lot of these things. And this particular space where the Grim Reaper is, I think in that case, it was probably just, gaining access via the landlord. I mean, I think he managed to kind of
walk an interesting line of doing some like entirely unsanctioned pieces, and then on the other end of the spectrum doing things that were obviously done at least with a tacit permission.
Crowds in Chelsea were flocking tonight to see Banksy's latest installation. It's under the High Line.
I could never get a solid answer out of anyone. I managed to talk to one of the instrumentalists, the accordion player, the Grim Reaper. They had to sign all these confidentiality clauses. But in my opinion, I think it kind of proves that he isn't this sort of rogue street artist anymore, that he is a businessman, and he has to protect his brand. And his brand is this sort of fly-by-night, cloak-and-dagger street artist.
Today's piece was supposed to be an editorial in the New York Times about the One World Trade Center, the Freedom Tower, and how ugly it is, and but the New York Times declined it.
Now, meantime, not everyone is happy with Banksy tonight. He posted an op-ed piece on his website that he submitted to the New York Times, which the newspaper declined to print. In the piece, he calls the Freedom Tower in Lower Manhattan the biggest eyesore in New York City and a shy skyscraper.
He said it was something that could be built in Canada, which pissed off not only New Yorkers, but Canadians.
I think a lot of us agree that the new Freedom Tower is in a very nice building architecturally. And, you know, whether he was actually going to have this published, I don't think that was the point. You know, this idea of being censored was really part of the message.
Can you explain to everyone then what the Banksy thing was?
So the Banksy piece said on the side of a building, this site contains blocked messages, right? He went to a spot across from the World Trade Center, right, on the other side of the river, and put that up there. This site contains blocked messages in full view of the Freedom Tower. And now it's going to be world headline news.
It's stopping people dead in their tracks. It was an anonymous donation, a painting mysteriously purchased, then given back with Banksy's mark. There is what appears to be a Nazi soldier sitting on a bench in this Banksy titled The Banality of Evil. You can see people here gathered taking pictures. They cannot believe that they are actually seeing a Banksy here on 23rd Street.
He takes a benign, picturesque, thrift store version of humanity and nature. He basically put a Hitler mustache on this guy. He just totally twisted it, and so it becomes so far from any form of political correctness. And then he twists it again by doing about the most politically correct thing you can do as a successful artist. But he puts this up in auction for the homeless.
My name's David Raper. I'm the head of businesses at Housing Works Thrift Shops. Banksy, the UK artist, unannounced dropped an original work into one of our stores. The sorts of things we do is we build housing for HIV-positive people in the city. We provide healthcare services, drug treatment and drug counselling. Our job, to be honest, with this piece of work is to create a bit of fun for our customers and to turn it into money that we can do good with. It's up for auction for the next 24 hours. It was come and left in the store very quietly, and then a little while later we got a tip-off from his people that there was an original work in the store, and that's how we found out about it yesterday afternoon. The original work was actually bought here about 2 weeks ago for $50. The little bit of extra work that he's put in has turned into something that's going to be over $250,000.
He called it the banality of evil. The Banality of Evil is the subtitle of Hannah Arendt's book, The Trial of Adolf Eichmann. He was accused of deporting the Jews to the death camps. Yet, Hannah Arendt insisted he was not a monster. He was perfectly ordinary. And Arendt's conclusion was that evil is not perpetrated by the people at the top. Evil is perpetrated by the people like Eichmann who are just doing their jobs. It's a failure to think. That's what Hannah Arendt called it, a failure to think. And Banksy, I think, is trying to expose this failure to think.
Biddingforgood.com is where you can place your bid if you have that kind of money. It's up to $211,000.
The bidding has gotten huge. Banksy work up for auction at more than $300,000.
He donated, was auctioned off last night for $615,000.
Banksy dropped us off in Queens behind essentially a mechanic shop. And these guys get there, the owners, totally regular guys. They actually loaded it into their truck, drove away with it, put it into their grandmother's garage.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Nice to see you.
Me too. How's your attention?
Good. A lot of people. I think this is the piece of the fair.
I'm very happy with the resonance of people. This is the first night tonight, and I think this is the major piece of the whole show.
So that picture that you see right there, we're gonna put right here. The tattoo, real tattoo. It says thanks, Banksy.
This looks better than in the garage, no?
Yeah.
So now, today or tomorrow, they look, and then they come back, and then today is circus, you know, everybody's looking, So the asking price is $350,000. I think it's a very significant piece from the New York show. And I'm happy that they contacted me and that we were able to make a deal. I think we're gonna sell it.
Good luck on that.
It's good.
I'm gonna be around, see what I can find. The rich see the art about money. Banksy see the art about art.
He did it when he was in New York in November.
So he sets it up every time you move it? No.
Banksy?
Yeah.
No, he has nothing to do with it.
That'll be sold today.
I hope so.
If they're gonna just tear it down and build condos, why the hell do they have to paint over everything?
They painted over it so there wasn't like a dispute on making it a monument or like a historic site. By whitewashing the building, there's no more argument. They win. To me, 5 Points really is part of a larger development in New York where essentially the value of real estate has become so prohibitively expensive that it's becoming increasingly difficult for cultural organizations to function.
A lot of the development that takes place is for people with a lot of money, drives out people who have lived in their neighborhoods for a long time, that the benefits of new development aren't being shared anywhere near as well as we want them to, that the inequality crisis hits neighborhoods often in the form of some new glass and steel luxury tower. People are angry, people are asking a lot of questions, and graffiti has long been one way people ask them.
In The Grapes of Wrath, John Steinbeck writes, "A homeless, hungry man, driving the roads with his wife beside him and his thin children in the back seat, could look at the fallow fields that might produce food, but not for profit. And that man could know how a fallow field is a sin and the unused land a crime against the thin children."
Today's piece.
Today's and final piece.
It says, an inflatable throw-up on the Long Island Expressway. It was audio guide. And that's it. Thanks for your patience. It's been fun. Save 5 Points. Bye.
Well, this is the last day of the show, and I'd like to say we're going out on a high note. And I guess in a way, we are.
Graffiti god Banksy wraps up New York residency with this final work, and his admirers, of course, flock to the site, including some who may have admired it a little too much.
You can see the piece. It was beautiful. Within minutes, they came up with the ladder.
Scaling the side of a building with a hatchet to cut down the valuable work of art.
Someone's taking the piece down.
It's an homage of sorts to the most prevalent form of graffiti in the city that invented it for the modern era.
This vagabond shoe.
As fans gathered to see the piece, two men were seen trying to remove the balloons.
My heart just sank to the bottom of my stomach.
But as they hit the ground, they were soon confronted by members of the public.
Now this piece created what we New Yorkers love, a fight on the streets.
Okay, cue the cops.
People are wrestling all over the ground and everything. You know, the police break up the commotion.
You Banksy!
No.
Not you, the cop.
And then they grab the Banksy balloons, right, that spells Banksy, all in one piece.
The cops just standing around it as if it was a corpse.
Balloons represented Banksy. They finally, at the very end, caught Banksy.
That's amazing.
Finally caught their man.
They finally got their man. They were just stuffing it in the back of a paddy wagon. I was pleading with the police.
I was like, you don't understand the social currency involved in this. Please, put it back up.
Put it up.
Don't touch me. I'm fighting with a cameraman that was ruthless and is elbowing me and it's breaking my ribs. And I said, don't do that. And then they hurt me, maybe. No. They all look at me, and I took a photograph. And then the next minute, I'm in handcuffs.
You guys want to go with them? Do you want to go with them?
Now, the last Banksy piece is in police custody.
It was an emotional experience for most of us that hunted Banksy for the month.
So what does the artist hope to have achieved with his so-called residency? Shame it didn't get any press. Banksy asserts that outside is where art should live, amongst us, where it can act as a public service, provoke debate, voice concerns, forge identities. Don't we want to live in a world made of art, not just decorated by it?
To you, New York.